is one of several of our artists and residents, folks here at Grace who on occasion we ask to help lead us in worship with the art that they do. And Laurie, just a few weeks ago, Daniel and I approached you, told you that we were going to be doing a sermon series on spiritual disciplines in the 40 days leading up to Easter. We're calling it Intentional Pursuit. And I'm wondering if you would just share, this is your piece, which is amazing, and it's been hanging on the podium and will be while we're preaching until Easter. Maybe you could just tell us, out of that conversation, how did we arrive at this beautiful piece of art?
Well, first I went over everything I talked to Daniel about it. He was telling me about the spiritual disciplines. And I'm looking at it thinking, wow, this is great. This is how I'd want to live my life. How can I make a piece of art about disciplines? I'm not disciplined at all. And then I thought, no, that's what the sermon series is about, to teach me how to be disciplined about these things.
Right.
So I thought about the reason why we want these disciplines in our life, and I felt like God wants us to be relational, and practicing studying and prayer and fellowship and service, and it enriches and grows our faith, and it grows us closer to God, and molds us so He can better use us.
Okay.
And so I thought of growth, and I talked to you about a little piece of art I'd done in a journal.
You came and showed a couple of different ideas that you had, right?
And you flipped one upside down, and you just sparked this thing in me that I thought, okay, it's going to be a river.
Okay.
And rivers have all kinds of things in them, but they're flowing. There's always movement. And I thought I could represent a lot of different things that represent how we walk with God.
Okay.
And how we grow with God. Like sometimes it might be really smooth.
Okay.
And we're moving right along, and we feel really good.
Smooth sailing.
Yes. And then sometimes there might be obstacles, and it might be put there by God to challenge us. It could be the world distracting us. Then I put the green grass because I thought of God giving us rest.
Yeah.
And basically everything that He wants us to do to grow towards Him, He'll supply it for us. I mean, He'll help us do it.
Yeah.
And then I also put some parts that to me represented like pools. Or deeper areas where maybe we could kind of get stuck in a place and become stagnant, or it could be deeper and it could be more growth with God. Right.
I mean, it is so beautiful. I see the river just, it's so obvious, but then as you're describing it, I see rocks and I see eddies like you described, and maybe like a stagnant algae pool someplace and some grass. It's so beautiful. How did you make it? What is it made out of?
Well, I have to thank Annette. Christensen.
Annette Christensen.
First of all, because she gave me this old piece of wool lining from a quilt. And I've got this cool material to work with. So it's wool felt, and the colors are on top of the old piece that she gave me. But then, and I felted it with a needle. But then I threw all kinds of other things in there too. these rocks here are not real rocks, they're
Okay.
felt.
Okay.
But somewhere
There are some real
there
rocks
are some real
sewn
rocks in there.
Yeah.
And there's, like this has a bunch of pebbles.
I see some glittering beads.
Yes, that was my big thing. The beads that are thrown in there and this piece of sea glass were supposed to be like hidden treasures that
along the way.
God gives us gifts
Huh.
as we're growing with Him. And I was excited about that. I didn't want it to just be just going down a river. There wonderful
There's treasure,
things.
there's
Yeah.
discovery
Yes.
along the way.
Yeah, and then
I mean, it's
tried to make
worth
it bubbly.
coming up after church and taking a look. Can people touch this?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure,
So come
yeah.
and if you're in the tent, you can come and touch it and see it. I mean, it is so beautiful. When you gave it to us, it came with a poem.
Yes.
So how does that happen? Did you feel like the poem came to you while you were creating it? Did you feel like it needed a poem to go with it?
Well, kind of both.
Okay.
I think I wrote it to talk about the obstacles and the hard times and the good flowing, and that God's involved in all of it, and that it's something that we need to, using Daniel's words telling me about this, be intentional about it.
Okay.
And for me, that's totally out of my wheelhouse to do things diligently and intentionally.
Right.
I just kind of go with flow. And I think to really grow with God, we need to be intentional and diligent.
And somehow step out into the flow of
Yes,
what he's
and not
doing.
be afraid to do
Yeah.
it. Whether you're just jumping in, diving in, or whether you're just kind of
Testing
taking,
something
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Well, I'm so grateful for it, Laurie.
Thank you.
It's always a
My
gift
pleasure.
whenever you do this for us, and I feel like there's a certain, all of us benefit, but there's definitely a group of us who process things differently than bullet points and sentences, and this is so helpful.
It's helpful to me because I dive into it
Yeah.
to understand it, to figure out what I'm going to do, and it inspires me.
Well, if you can come see Laurie's piece of art in person, it's also on the header of the Lenten prayer calendar that you can find either in print here at church or online. So when you go on the We Are Graced SAC and follow the Lenten resources, you'll see a digital version of Laurie's art as well. And I thought maybe we close, if it's okay with you, if I read this
Thank
poem.
you.
Does it have it has a title? Spiritual Disciplines. Spiritual Disciplines by Laurie Freeman Young. Slowly tiptoe in or dive in headlong. Get in God's flow. There will be rapids, rocky, rough, and tumble. Stay in God's flow. There will be rest, float, be still. Stay in God's flow. There will be obstacles, distractions, good and bad. Stay in God's flow. This is why we are on this journey of growth. Stay in God's flow. Be diligent. Live intentionally in the current of God's glory. Thanks, Glory.
Thank you.